Everyone has some sort of a closet that's become too small. A closet is no place to live, and I want to support as many people as I can in stepping out of that prison into the fullness of life that's waiting for them on the other side of that closet door. I'm Nancy Shadlock from Centered Life Coaching. Join me in listening to these Coming Out Chronicles. Get curious about your story, and then see what good things are waiting for you on the other side of your closet door.
Today's guest is so colorful and fun and way outside the box. There's just no boxes. And I think that you're going to have your mind blown in some ways and also be inspired to think about your own coming outs and how you can let go of some of the things that you worry about as far as what other people think about you. I know I was super inspired today by Angela's talk, and I think you'll enjoy it. So jump in. Angela, Lauria, it's so awesome to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I can't wait to hear what coming out story you're going to share with us, because I have a hunch you have a few.
I do have a few, but there's definitely one that was like a big pivotal moment for me. I think I always, I don't think I really realized how much your coming out story could change you when it's really, I don't know, when you come out kind of for the right reason, not for other people, but when you're really doing it for yourself and it's not about what people's reactions will be, but really what your own reaction is to yourself.
Right. Having congruence internally.
Yes, exactly. You said that perfectly.
Okay. Well, what one?
I was going to say, so you just want me to jump in? I didn't know how I should handle that. So, well, first of all, I want to go back to my very first rock concert, and which was U2. And when I was at U2,
can there be any other concert after that? Really?
Well, like a couple pivotal things happened to me at this U2 concert. I joined, it was my first concert. Great. They had Amnesty International there. And I signed up on like a yellow legal pad and I started writing letters to get prisoners of war out of their prisons. And I don't know if it was at the Amnesty table or somewhere else at this event, but I was very into having lots of buttons on my jean jacket. And I got a button there. I think I paid for it. And it said, "I'm straight, but not narrow," which I thought was the greatest button of all time. And it was an upside down pink triangle. Remember when that was our symbol? So I had an upside down. I just dated myself. Don't worry about it. So I had this upside down pink triangle and it said, "I'm straight, but not narrow." And I always had it on my jean jacket. It was like a major source of pride. And when I got to college, freshman year of college, so I want to say I was in maybe 8th grade. I was maybe 12 or 13 when I got this button. When I got to college, like 5 years later at 18, I had a girlfriend, really, I don't know, maybe the first week of college. I was dating this girl and I had this button on. And she said, "Well, I guess it's time to take that button off," which I thought was really weird because I still felt straight even though I had a girlfriend. I was like, why would I take this button that is such a part of my identity off? I did eventually take the button off, but I just never, I couldn't, the label thing was really hard for me. I always said I date people, not genders. That was really easy. I always did. I feel like I dated people. But the label thing, I just could never really get my groove. And so I probably dated 80% men and like cisgendered men. And so it felt, I don't know, pushy or not my place to identify as being bi or being queer, because it just felt like I was co-opting someone else's agenda. Like, here I am, I look straight, I've got a straight boyfriend, we appear straight in society. So why am I gonna like bust in on this agenda? So I never, like, my friends and family knew that I was bi. They had met my girlfriends, but because most of the time I was in a straight relationship, I was always worried about what other people thought about me coming out.
Hmm.
And so, God, when was it? It was probably 3 or 4 years ago now. I actually came out as bi in a very public way on National Coming Out Day.
Hmm.
And which is like, whatever. But I did a Facebook post and I did an email to my list. And even though my close friends and family all knew, none of my clients did, because they'd only ever seen me with a straight man
Hmm.
in a straight relationship. And coming out was so powerful for me because that was when I realized how much of myself I had shut down, because I told myself it wasn't my place to share my journey being queer, because frankly, because I could pass as straight, didn't have to deal with a lot of things that a lot of gay people have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I dismissed my whole inner struggle and some of the challenges that I had through my whole life because I didn't have some of the other ones. So that was really a big turning point for me, was being willing to claim that publicly, even though I didn't have to, or I had chosen to pass for so many years. And a lot of that choice, I really realized, was like not wanting to. I never lied. I would always tell stories about girlfriends, like people knew, but I just didn't want to make people uncomfortable. Like, I didn't want to, I'll just make myself smaller so as not to, offend anyone, or, make anything difficult for anyone else. And I didn't realize how much I had done that and how frankly fucking exhausting it is.
Mm-hmm. Was there like a breaking point or a turning point that caused you to actually come out about it?
I don't remember like which of the many breaking points, but it was all part of the attack and assault on the queer community during the Donald Trump presidency.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple trans employees at the time. It was around the North Carolina bathroom bill period. And it was, I've always been a very loud activist for LGBTQ rights. And I've always taken a very loud stand. Maybe there's like a Shakespearean line, the lady doth protest too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was always like very vociferous about it. And then I just found myself so emotionally raw all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And finally I was like, oh, there's more here. It's kind of how I started this story, is like, it was always about other people for me. It was always about the struggle for civil rights. It was always about gay marriage. Like, I never missed a protest. I always looked at it from the activist perspective. And I just never had time to really go through my own experience, because it never seemed like enough. Like, so many people had it so much harder that I never acknowledged what I faced was really fucking hard too.
Mm-hmm. What was hardest for you, or what were some hard things for you?
Um, my my family my family's greatest wish was just to like have a normal kid, like just all the normal things, and to have to be straight, to want to have a normal job and to be an employee and to not stand out. And I probably heard the phrase "don't rock the boat" so many times. I had this cousin who was gay, obviously gay, and my mom would say, like, look, we love Michael. Michael is a part of our family. It has nothing to do with who he's sleeping with. So why would he need to talk about it? Why would he bring somebody home? That has nothing to do with how much we love him. You know, like, we love you. Just could you not be who you are? That would
Just don't
be,
talk about who you are.
yeah. Just if you could just tone it down and be a totally different person, because we love you. It was the constant message I got from every corner about how I dressed, about my interests, about who I wanted to date, about my career interests. Like, just every single aspect of me was like, we love you. Just don't do that. Don't like that. Don't be that way.
Mhm.
Look around. Nobody else is like that. And this seemed, because I am bi, this seemed like one I could just give, like, let me give them that.
Right.
Yeah, let me just give them that. This will just be easier.
I'll just talk about boyfriends around you,
I'll just
not
talk about,
girlfriends.
yeah, I'll just give this to them. And it was like cutting off a huge part of who I was. And everyone knew, but the request was don't ask, don't tell. And I was like, okay. Like, I drive you nuts on everything else.
Right. I'm not going to have a normal job. I'm not going to dress normally.
Right. And I certainly didn't stop talking about political issues. I didn't stop, acting as an advocate and as an activist. But as long as I wasn't bringing a girl home, as long as I wasn't pushing that issue. And like my family, I know they would be like, oh, Jesus Christ, Angela. Like, the other thing was, like, no matter what I do, they don't believe it anyway. They're like, oh, she's just being dramatic again.
Right.
So I'm like, they're not going to believe who I am anyway. So I guess I'll just give them what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think part of what, when I came out, during the Trump administration, at some point, it was probably 2017, I think. But when I came out in that more public way, which my family like never talked about, the whole request is like, don't talk about it. But the acknowledgement to myself was like, this pretending charade. I am 45 years old, however old I was then, 45-ish. Like, this pretending charade, it is now officially silliness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is happening? It's so funny how, I've got an 8-figure business, a staff of 40. I, own who I am so confidently in so many ways. And then, like, in this one area, I was like, well, I don't need to talk about who I really am. But in every other way, I'm like, show up as who you are 100 fucking %.
Mm-hmm.
Like, be yourself all the way. But I'm like, yeah, but is it really necessary?
Mm-hmm.
And that shift, just for me, was such I think it's because I'm heading towards 50, but it was just like relaxing into the truth of who I am, and dropping a layer of apology I didn't even realize was there.
Wow. that must have had like implications in your body, in the way that you show up in the world. What did you notice?
Yeah, I think for me the biggest thing was what do they say, like, as you mature you mellow.
Mm.
I think there was like a softening around it for me. I think a lot of, don't get me wrong, I still think of myself as an activist, but I think a lot of my activism was covering up
Mhm.
for my own pain.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
like,
can
let's
see
go.
how even that button, it was like this symbol of like, I am an activist, I'm for all the people, but it's not me.
Isn't that so great?
Yeah.
Oh God, I wish I saved that button. I loved it so much. I remember picking it out. I'm like, this is my identity. That was my identity. Yeah, it was really interesting. And then that, yeah, much more of a presence inside myself, an internalization instead of an externalization. So like less anger
Mhm.
and righteousness, although I'm still angry and righteous. Adults can pick their own bathrooms, thank you. Like, but less anger and righteousness and more of a softening of like, yeah, that was not easy growing up in my fucking racist family, in my fucking homophobic town.
Mhm.
And that was an interesting survival tool. Like, I found a very cool way to get my needs met. Everyone knew I was an activist. No
Mhm.
one said homophobic shit to me.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
got my needs met.
That's the main thing at that age. We just have to get through, and
Right.
you did it. And
Yeah.
now you can kind of relax into, oh, this is who I am, and you all can know this now.
Yeah.
Was there fallout with your list and family or friends?
I think for me, it was all positive in that, yeah, it was all positive. I think the biggest thing is how many people, so one of the things we keep track of in our company are just diversity statistics. In general, we're interested in that. And we thought that our staff and our clients were about 15% LGBTQ, and it turned out it was about 40%. So many more people came out to us in very like magnanimous ways. And so many clients and even staff members told me they chose to work here because of our policies, or chose to, do their books with us because of our LGBTQ friendly policies.
Right.
And I had, no idea that influenced those. I knew for other people it influenced their decisions, but those people I didn't know.
Yeah.
So even people who, I had 2 different clients who said, I have a trans kid. And part of why I picked your company is because of my kid. Like, I'm straight, my husband's straight, but we have a trans kid, and we're really careful about spending money with trans friendly companies. So that was cool. Like, then they wouldn't have necessarily told me, but it opened up those conversations. And I was really grateful for that. And then the number of bi women, especially, who shared with me how painful it was to be in a straight relationship and not be able to share that part of who they are. It's very different, even at it was gay and lesbian, And then it was LGBT, like pretty quickly before we started adding our other letters. But bisexual men have a very different reputation than bisexual women.
Hmm.
And being a bisexual woman, I've dated lesbians who, there's a lot of feelings about bisexual women among lesbians. Lots of feelings. And I've never, like, it's hard to fit in those groups because they're like,
Are
you're
you
not
with us or
really
you're not?
one of us. Yeah, exactly. Then I've been in like groups of just like lesbian women where I've had like lesbian women circles where it's 15 women that are all lesbians and I'm kind of in, kind of out. Like, am I in that club? Am I not in that club? Then I've dated bisexual women and that's been like, okay, we're both like, we both feel this same way, but there's definitely less of a club. Like, it's less of a club. It's like, what group are we actually
Right.
in?
We're the misfits.
We kind of are, and in a very different way than bisexual men. Bisexual men have their own thing, but it's like very different than ours. And then I've been like, in college and high school where bisexual just meant slutty. And there's that whole thing that bisexual women get, like, guys will be like, will you make out with this girl for me? Like, what was popular when I was in college? Girls Gone Wild, or some sort of like, girls making out in clubs. That was like the super hot thing. I don't know, maybe it still is the hot thing. I'm not sure. It's been a long time. I'm 48. But like, so that's like, there's an over sexualization, I think, of bisexual women that is a part, like, sure, like sex is a part of it. That's a part I explored. I got that one covered. But like, there's a whole lot more to that aspect of my identity. And then I have this whole other weird, the place where I identify most is queer, because my parenting partner, which is not a romantic relationship, but I've been in a 13-year relationship with a woman that we've lived together and raised our kids together. But it's not romantic, but it's extremely intimate. We've like co-parented and raised a family together. So, but then we both date men, but our primary relationship has been with each other.
But not sexual, not romantic, just like,
but not sexual, not romantic. But I, like, I dated women at that time, but then I take them home to my wife and kids who we have a house together and go on vacation together. It's like, life is fucking complicated.
Yeah.
And I think when I came out, the biggest thing is I stopped trying to be what other people expect bisexual to be. And I really claimed my own identity in it. And when you're in that advocate activist role, you're always talking about a hypothetical. Like the idea is like, hypothetically, you would know who you wanted to date. But like, now it was about me. And I was like, oh, my life does not fit any labels at all. There's no letters. Plus, what was the plus in the LGBTQ? I'm the plus. That's me.
Yeah.
And whatever the other one is. So I am 100% queer. That I am, of that, I am sure. does not, yeah. So.
I actually think that in that you're actually more normal than you realize, which you probably aren't actually wanting to be normal. But
well, it's interesting. There was one before I came out. God, when was this? Had to be maybe 2012, 2013. I posted my whole situation. This is my partner. We live together. It's asexual. Like, this is my girlfriend. We're not polyamorous. It's not like, here's my girlfriend, but this is my wife and our kids, but we're not. And the whole thing. Who else has a situation like this? Like, I posted it somewhere. I can't remember where. And I was like, there must be a lot of people who have this situation. And literally, like, no one.
Crickets.
Yeah, total crickets. And I tried. It was like, I wanted to do a website. God, now I can't remember the name of it. It was before I started my company. That's how I know it was 2012. And it was called Urban Families. I wanted to do a book or a website. And I'm like, we must not be the only one. There must be tons of urban families. And I'm going to find other urban families like ours and profile them. And I forgot what my whole plan was, but I literally could find no one else like us. And then I would find people who'd be like, our family is exactly like yours, totally non-traditional family. My husband and I had our own kid. And then my sister died and we adopted her 2-year-old child. And I'd be like, similar.
Not quite.
Okay, not really picking up what I'm putting down. I literally could find nothing. And I was like, there must be, but where are they? And I kept insisting someone should do a TV show about us, but
Totally.
yes.
But what I think you're normal at is that I think a lot of people don't fit into the binaries, but they're just playing the part. And it's like a lot of people wish they had that freedom or like that courage to step into the freedom of stepping out of those boxes.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think sexuality is as cut and dried as we've made it. And I think as life progresses, there will be more opening up and more trying different things and seeing what is fulfilling and what works, and like what is fulfilling and what works about your relationship. I'm asking you. Yeah, like I would love to know that if you want to share.
What's fulfilling about my relationship with Mila? Oh, it's what everybody wants in a relationship. It's so funny. It's like, if you took all the pressure out of what marriage was supposed to be, you would have the relationship that you wanted. I'm sure of it. So me and Mila have a great story. We, when we met, we were both coming out. We had babies that were almost the exact same age. And we were in the middle of coming out of super crapola marriages. I needed a nanny because I had a really hard job and a long commute. And she needed a place to live because she was moving out with her husband. So she moved in with me with her baby, who was almost the same age as my baby. So our kids are like twins. And they look like twins. So Mila is Serbian and Sophia's dad is Filipino. So Sophia's half Filipino, half Serbian. My son is half Indian and half Italian. But particularly now he's 6 feet and she's 5 feet, but particularly when they were babies, they look like absolute twins. Everyone's like, they look exactly the same, even though like none of the same DNA, but they're 100% siblings. So she moved in with me as the nanny, and she was in charge of all the home and kid stuff, cooking and cleaning and getting the kids to their activities. And I was in charge of like making money and all of the, support role kind of stuff. And I did my job really well, and she did her job really well. And the one thing we always commented on, and I remember this was super early on, one of the first things we did is we went to Sesame Place with the kids. And there was traffic and we got lost, and it was really fun. And I had, in my marriage, when there was traffic and we got lost, it was not really fun.
Right.
I had no idea it could be really fun if there was traffic and you got lost. And in the 13 years since, it was, May. So 13 years in May, we've had traffic, gotten lost, pandemic. We've had so many crises, and it's always fun and easy and light. And it always makes things better. Like when things are really shitty, if we're together. At one point, our children, I think, tried to burn our house down. We had gone to New York for the night, and we left them. Who did we leave them with? We had an exchange student. I think we left them with the 18-year-old exchange student. And there was fire and the police came. It was very bad. And we're in New York and we're screaming at the children from New York City, like, we're going to kill you. And then we hang up the phone, laugh hysterically, and go to dinner. We punish the children appropriately when we got home, but just all the shitty and hard things of parenting are so much better with her. We don't always agree. We don't always see eye to eye, but we've shared every moment of the parenting journey, as the absurdity of it all. A lot of it is, threatening to kill our children. Once we went on a cruise, I think they were maybe 5 and 6, and we kicked them out of the stateroom and took their keys and told them not to come back. It's good. We're great parents. We did a few minutes later go get them and return them to the room. But yeah, it's just, but there's no pressure. We met because I hired her to be the nanny or whatever, but we very quickly just became a partnership and a family. And we have just had this commitment to getting through parenting is so ridiculously hard. I'm not sure if you've been informed yet, but
I've got 2 3-year-olds, so yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, well, we right now have 2 15-year-olds. So I'm just gonna tell you, we thought 3 sucked. We had 2 3-year-olds. We now have 2 15-year-olds, and we on the daily send each other pictures of our children at 3 when things were much easier.
Right.
Yeah, I think when you have, I really do. I'm not a poly person at all. But there are some things that polyamory people say that I think we kind of do inherently when they're you can't expect everything from one person.
Mm-hmm.
So we've always done our lives together, vacations, holidays, raising the kids, but we've never expected each other. We've never expected the things you expect from romance. It's very different. Romance is a very different thing than we do hard things together.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And there's a rush from that, and a intensity of connection from doing the hard things together.
Yeah, I know if I have to go. Oh, actually, here's the thing. Jesse, our son, is playing football in 2 hours away in the hot heat. Not a fan of the hot heat. And so I'm hey, Jesse's got a football game tomorrow. Do you want to take a ride with me? And so we'll drive to Williamsburg. We will drop Jesse off. I don't know. We'll drive around. We'll probably buy makeup at a CVS and sit in the car and spend as little time in the hot heat as we can. But that girlfriend kind of activity around your kids is mixing that, and then not having to worry about, it has nothing to do with sex or romance, or I'm not mad about wherever, she has her own bedroom, and whether she did her laundry or my laundry or
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a lot of finances intertwined, but a lot of them aren't, we don't, our retirement accounts aren't. So I guess in some ways our retirement accounts are. I don't know. I just think there are things about our romantic relationships that are a lot more fun because they don't include raising kids.
Yeah.
Raising kids and romance do not go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I don't know who put those two things together, and I understand how it works. But I don't want to raise kids with anyone I'm doing anything romantic with. It is the least romantic activity of all the activities. It's not, it's very difficult. It's very difficult.
Do you think that your relationship will continue on even after the kids are out of the house? Like, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think you ever get to be done raising kids. I assume after our kids are out of the house, they'll, I don't know, use meth and go to jail and do something terrible that I'll need to call Mila for.
But do you think you'll keep living together?
Yeah, we've gone through, she actually just moved out and moved in with a boyfriend. It's all very exciting.
Oh.
But we've gone through different like periods, but we're like our primary
People.
family relationship. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think, yeah, I can't imagine we wouldn't be. We're,
Mhm.
I mean, I can't imagine not being Sophia's mom and
Mhm.
no matter where she lives.
Yeah.
Right now she's in Egypt. It's all very exciting.
Whoa, cool.
Yeah. So, but it's a different, it's an alternative approach to family that I wasn't looking for, but it just makes so much sense to me now to like separate romance from the primary activities of raising a family. I think that's part of I think that's part of why our family's so solid and stable, because it's like I'm not expecting certain things that I would expect from,
Right.
you know.
There's not all these other fluctuating dynamics.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, Mila's the one who, you know, was there going through building a business together, going through like, she's just been through everything. And I think it's hard for a romantic relationship to go through that.
Yeah.
Because you change so much in the things we expect from our romantic partners.
Yeah.
So.
And is she part of your business and your husband part of your business? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. She's she does she's my chief of staff and he's my chief financial officer. So
Amazing.
I know. It's like a, I don't know, some sort of musical or something. I'm not sure what.
But it works.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's an adventure.
So my last question is, what's your next coming out chapter?
I think it really is. Actually, this is kind of an interesting one. I really do think it
Because
has,
the other ones weren't very interesting at all.
Right.
Thank you. Finally getting to the interesting stuff.
You're welcome. I think it does have to do with our kids going off to college, because I never didn't have, like, our kids were at gay pride rallies from the time they were 2. We had them in a double stroller at gay pride rallies. But it's interesting. Everyone just assumes Mila and I are lesbians. We don't even bother to explain. It's way too complicated. So Jesse and Sophia have grown up with, you know, I have 2 moms. And Sophia seems not fazed by it, but Jesse is annoyed by the whole fucking thing. He's really like angry about it and embarrassed by it. And, you know, like he even texted me, he's like, if you come to the football game, like you and Mila should stay in the car. Like, so I think not having kids at home will be a whole new adventure in freedom and being able to really fully express who I am.
Right.
Because there's a lot of, I mean, I definitely don't want to embarrass the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And even social media, I think, I mean, I have a very big social media presence. And obviously, as has been explained many times, Facebook is for old people. But like, not that I want to do anything on TikTok, but there are things I don't do on social media because my kids would be horrified. There are things I don't do that I might, that I think there'll be kind of a different freedom when the kids, they're both planning on going away to college, and when they kind of move into more adulthood, things will probably take a different chapter.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. But that's kind of what I think is being, there was a phase of being in my 20s, I think it was the slutty bisexual phase, but of being in my 20s and being queer, which was like about a lot of travel and parties and clubs and concerts and great times. Like that was awesome. And then I went through the, I'm going to have baby, and I went through the IVF period of, baby making and having dry ice shipped to my home and that whole period, and getting all my, whatever, legal paperwork with my gay friends to try and figure out which one of my gay boyfriends was going to help me make a baby. And then my 30s were all about having kids and being with Mila, and it was like the happy gay family period. And then there'll be this whole new chapter when the kids move out, and I am experiencing some of that now, even though they're only 15. But Sophia's spending the summer in Europe, Jesse's been off at football camp, and they're starting to have much less to do with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like it happened overnight, weirdly.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels like all of a sudden they're moving into this new phase where we're kind of somewhat necessary for transportation. And that seems to be the status we've been relegated to. So,
Yeah. To somehow like meld the slutty bisexual era with the mellow, older, just like, this is who I am.
Yeah,
And
it's kind of,
experience whatever you'll experience. It's
yeah, it's weird because parenting is, I don't know if it's an equalizer. I do think it's different being queer and a parent, but not that different. Parenting takes over your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a big couple decade commitment. I'm 15 years into this, and I'm like, that was a very big decision. Really, like, and it's so identity shifting. Obviously, not having a whole lot to do with your, whatever sexual orientation, having a lot more to do with your whatever parenting orientation. But now it's like, who am I if my kids aren't the main part of my identity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a whole nother coming out.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's next. I think that's what they call the empty nest. I can't believe we're already getting ready for that. It seems like just yesterday they were babies, but
yeah. Well, we'll check back in with you and hear what that chapter has entailed.
And who knows? We could be in jail. There's still time.
I can't wait to hear it. Thanks for joining us today, Angela.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Coming Out Chronicles. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. And if you think it would be helpful for someone else, please share it with them. If you'd like to connect with me, reach out on social. I'd love to support you on the next chapter of your coming out story. Until next time, this is Nancy Shadlock from Centered Life Coaching.